Turner Cavender, and this is Wes. This is my guest on the show today. Let's get right into it, okay? You guys have been waiting for this podcast, and I wanted to bring in somebody that actually was a mentor to me. We did some personal training back in my day when we first met. But today's podcast is going to be completely about building a community for your vision and your movement. And this guy right here has done a lot of that. So Wes, thank you so much for letting me come over to your house and your awesome office.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Obviously, I haven't been in the gym as much as I used to be back in the day with you. But
I think that was, what was that like?
Like 7-8 years ago. Because Gianna was like really little.
Yeah,
my daughter was probably like 2 years old back then. So she's 10 now.
What?
It's crazy. Yeah, she's in the 5th grade. It's nuts. She's like 10 going on 16.
When I was getting out of the car, coming up here, I was like, I wonder if she's going to be here. Because I just remembered little bitty.
Exactly.
That's so
wild.
wild.
No, she's in school. She's like doing all the big girl stuff.
Really?
So, yeah, so cheer and voice and piano and golf. We had golf
she's
lessons.
out piano, huh?
Yeah. She's way more creative and artsy than I was. I mean, I liked music and I liked to sing, but I mean, music is an escape for me, but she's got way more talent than I did. So
really?
Yeah, she's doing real good.
So let's get like kind of right into it. But first, I kind of want to give the the listeners a kind of like a background of why the hell I know you, right? Yeah. So it originally started we met through Robbie, right? Right.
Yeah.
And let's talk about how originally the main reason I met you. It was Wool Ventures, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So tell me what is Wool Ventures?
Well, so I've been in the direct sales industry for now it's crazy, like almost 25 years.
Okay.
I started selling Cutco knives when I was in college. I worked my way up through that company. I was one of the top guys there. But I had a passion for travel because I grew up in West Texas, so small town boy that was a city boy stuck in a small town. I couldn't wait to get out. And so I had a passion for travel, which led me to travel and direct sales combined. And so I was, met my business partners and we started working together. We created Wool Ventures back in 2005. So I was one of the 5 original founders. The company did really well, over $4.5 billion in sales in a 15-year period. But then it got to a point where it was time for me to make a switch, make a move. I just wasn't happy with the direction. I felt kind of stagnant personally and professionally, and felt like I had achieved pretty much all I had set out to do there. We helped a lot of people. We had over 2 million customers in 35 countries around the world. I traveled, been to over 70 countries, spoken on stages of over 20,000 people in Cowboy Stadium and in arenas and amphitheaters around the world. But I wasn't happy. Wasn't happy with the direction of the company, wasn't happy with the leadership, and so I made a decision to make a move.
So when was this?
So I stepped down from my role on the President's Council there and being active in November of 2017. So it's been just over 3 years now that I've been pursuing other interests.
Okay. So you guys are really seeing like the raw. If you're listening to we're actually really catching up right now. We've probably been apart for about 4 years. Total, right?
Yeah, just kind of random meetings or chats or whatever, just checking on you guys and stuff. We haven't really gotten a chance to hang out.
Yeah, so it's really going to be cool to kind of go through, catching up and seeing all that stuff with people seeing this live or listening on iTunes. But before we, I just kind of want to give a background of how we met, what you started, because, no matter what you do in life, there's got to be some sense of kind of community, right? Whether you're on a baseball team or you're, just some kind of like the PTA club for your parents and stuff like that. There's a community. But when it goes into like a movement, a vision, that's really how big companies like Apple or, this microphone or this couch, right? There was a movement, there was an idea, there was a vision. And I've always found out in my life, you can never do anything by yourself. Some shape and form, somebody helps you along the way. And in some ways, you did that a lot for me. You 100%, I give him some credit for that. You did push me a little bit into an entrepreneurial space, from just kind of shadowing and hanging out with you as buddies, but at the same time, I was adding to your community in Wool Ventures.
Yep.
I was one of those bodies in that community, and I spoke it and lived it, and I brought a lot of people to that community too. So that was a fun, thing. But so you guys know that I've done the Evo Fit, the gym. I built a community, fitness community. He was a part of that as well, and then I got into the podcast. This is the vision. This is the movement to spread more positivity in a negative world, to help people take that positive step into this world that we live in. And sometimes we need a push. I did myself. He also, very successful people have leaders and coaches, and they sometimes need a little push, and that's what this is all about. And we're here to educate you on, if you have a vision or a movement that you would like to achieve, building a company around that, then comes a community, and then also comes to building a following of people that support that vision and are invested in it. Yeah. Right? So my question to you is that you've always found a way. And right now we're about to get right into the nitty-gritty of what you're doing right now, right? You went from World Venture, which is completely all about community, right?
Absolutely.
And obviously right now you're doing a lot of educational-based stuff. And I'd like to share what exactly you're doing now and how are you building that? Because when I saw that you doing that so quick, I mean, you did 2 months?
Yeah, it's just been 2 months this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about, he did in 2 months. It's just astounding, and he's really good at building community and vision and movement. He paints that picture right in front of people on the stage of 20,000, in front of 20,000 people. You're good at painting that picture mentally. Yeah. So let's share. Sure. What are you doing right now?
Well, I think you brought up a point that really set some of these things into motion, and I think 2020 was really a catalyst of what you said, which is that people have this inherent need for connection. And that's the thing that
as humans, that's just who we are.
And it worries me because of the pandemic and the isolation and the quarantine, because we have this need to belong, and that's why we're a civilized, society and a civilized race, because we feel this need to connect with others. And it worries me seeing what's happened over the last year, that as people have been more isolated, where I built all my businesses belly to belly, face to face, doing events. You remember we were doing happy hours and events, and
that's the nitty gritty stuff right there.
Yeah, but I loved it, and people love that connection. And so now building on Zoom, which is, like 95% of the way that we're building this new business and the way people are communicating out, it worries me a little bit, because I don't feel like the connection on Zoom and through technology is as
like
strong.
The body language that you read, the camaraderie you have, the banter that you can have that's not about, like, you're not talking about business all the time. Like, you could just cut it up.
Sure.
In a side conversation. Yeah. And that's where you build a relationship.
And you don't feel it, right? I mean, I did some hiring for my software company during the pandemic, and doing interviews. I mean, when you're trying to make a hiring decision for an employee, somebody's going to be part of your team that you have on salary that you're paying, and doing interviews on Zoom was like the weirdest thing ever, because I've always been a people person. So I want to feel them and their energy and their confidence and how they carry.
Vibes and energy are real. Yeah. That's a real thing.
100%. So I think this last year really set a lot of this into motion for me. And I feel like, people see success and people think, oh, that person got lucky. You see the most successful people in the world, the Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and the big leaders that you see in these companies, and a lot of people are like, they got lucky. But really, to me, luck is what you make it. It's the amount of hard work and effort that you put into something, and then you just keep doing that, and then eventually things start paying off. And people see it from the outside. They don't see all of the work that went into
the efforts that are put into it, because effort and grit and all the other words you can think of equal luck.
Yeah.
Luck.
You make
people like to throw out there that people got lucky. I mean, that's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I know I've seen you grind. I know I had to put blood and sweat into the gym that I successfully sold, but building that wasn't, people thought, did you just, someone hand you money?
Mm-hmm.
And people, if you watch the podcast, that wasn't the case at all. I
Sure.
figured it out myself, just like you did.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I think looking at what's happened in 2020, brought me to where I am now, because I haven't built a sales organization since I left World Ventures. So it's been over 3 years now since I've, been out recruiting and building a new sales team and working with a new organization. I've been focused on real estate. So real estate was going really well, but what you talked about with the need for community and connection, that's really what I loved about my last 15 years building that organization. I mean, my sales
organization.
organization.
Was like a drive for you?
Yeah, because it was the connection, and the people and helping and training and motivating and educating. That was the thing that I missed most. And I think 2020 emphasized that. Like, I was really feeling it in 2020, that the disconnect from having that community and having a group of people that had similar goals and similar interests and wanted to better themselves. Because my real estate business, I've been building, when you're doing real estate, unless you're working directly with a client or an investor, because I do a lot of investor stuff, it's not the same. You're not a team. You're not a community. And so I missed that. And so the opportunity presented itself with this new company, and I had watched one of my good friends, Alex Morton, build this company over the last 4 years, and I felt like I was never one of those guys that was in the right place at the right time, and that's what I meant by putting in the work and not really ever being lucky, quote unquote. I never felt like, we built World Ventures from scratch. There was no right place, right time. But now I feel like, because of what's happened with the pandemic and what we're teaching people and how we're educating them on crypto and investing and Forex, it's just right place, right time. So like, the timing is perfect for me, and that's why I was like, it's time for me. This is a sign. I need to get back involved in doing what I love.
I think, do you think, like, because people during the pandemic, they were isolated and they lost that sense of community, do you think that y'all are almost capitalist on that situation of people wanting to feel communication, and the world slowed down so they could focus themselves on something maybe they wanted to learn about, like investing in crypto?
What you said is literally so powerful right now, because the number one search term online right now is how to make money at home. So people are wanting to make money at home, so they're searching for that, but they're missing that personal connection. So they're wanting to pick up skills, but now e-learning is the only way people are learning right now. Colleges and universities, and even primary schools and high schools, some of them are still not back in school. And so they're doing e-learning. So we're in a place where people are wanting to learn, wanting to grow, wanting to better themselves, finding additional ways to make money, and they don't have that same connection, right? I felt bad for my daughter this last year, because 5th grade, 6th grade, she'll be in 6th this coming year, and then the end of 4th grade, she missed out on a lot of experiences by not
social skills.
100%. Those connections that you make. It's not like we're using the stuff that we learned in 4th or 5th grade from an academic standpoint. Nobody's quizzing us on Texas history, right now. But those skills that you pick up socially, I felt bad for her. Even now in the 5th grade at her school, they keep the kids in pods. So normally in 5th grade, you would start switching.
Pods?
Yeah, so what happens is, normally in 5th grade, you would start switching classes. That's when we did it, and that's when they do it. So you would go to your homeroom, but then you would go around, you have your reading teacher, your math teacher, your science teacher. You start moving, right? Because up until that point, you just stayed in the same room, and you had your teacher who taught all your subjects, right? The homeroom class was everything. So your one teacher taught you all those subjects. Well, in 5th grade, they start moving classes, or supposed to, but instead of them moving, they're staying in the same room with the same kids, 12 kids, and the teachers are coming to them. So they don't get the locker exchanges, they don't get the interaction. They're not getting any of that. Then even at lunch, they have to sit in their pod. At recess, they have to stay in their pod. They can't go play with other kids that are even in the same grade that are at recess, because they're trying to keep the kids safe, which, I get the thinking, but I think, what is it that we're missing by not having that same connection?
Imagine that kid that's in high school playing varsity that could be picked up by college and they couldn't play football. or their senior in college that couldn't play his last year and maybe misses the opportunity to be scouted.
Yeah.
You know, that's like the opportunity and experiences of people that are missing out right now during this, or was in the time. It's getting better, obviously, but
sure.
It's just, you could never get it back. Like, you can't go back and try to, let me just hold you back a year so you can relive it. It's just like that opportunity's gone. I feel so sad to people who lost that sense of community, and that brings me into like, I think you guys just like, obviously you started a while back, but you were brought into the picture, which you're really good at bringing that community feel, even if it's, you know, on the other side of that screen. Yeah. You've always been really good at that, and I've seen videos of you, and you're very good at presenting. But let's move into, you know, what you're doing right now. You're teaching people exactly, what is that?
Yeah, so it's a wealth education company. It's called I Am Mastery Academy. Okay. It was originally started by a guy who was a professional stock trader and stock trading educator. So he went out and educated people on how to trade. He did big seminars and big events, did this for over 20 years. And he wanted to get his information out to the masses, and he was using his skills to trade not only stocks and options, but also Forex. So Forex is a relatively new trading exchange, and so a lot of people are just now really learning about Forex. It's been around for 15 or so years, really, as a financial market, digitally being able to trade currency just like stocks and options. And so he built this company and this concept around his trading education and bringing in professional traders to teach the skills so that people can take control of their own finances. Because for so many years people turn to financial advisors or stockbrokers, and there's nothing bad about those people and what they do, but it gives people an empowerment feeling to be able to make their own trades. And so companies like Robinhood, which is a company that's what they call a unicorn in Silicon Valley, that has now amassed over 13 million users, and they were really the first to do free stock and option trading. So the age of the retail investor, people that are just everyday people taking their finances into their own hands and investing and learning how to invest, was something that, that Chris envisioned with not just stocks and options, but also with Forex and crypto. And so he brought it together in a curriculum format. So it's an online school. It's an online university of wealth building. And we're working on a real estate curriculum on real estate investing, how to sell real estate. That'll come out later this year. Also stocks and options. And we're going to do a travel program as well, using the experience that I developed. And so they've given me the green light to be able to help pilot that project later this year too, when travel gets a little bit more normalcy back to it. So the company is really forward thinking. It's doing really well. They've done $1 billion in revenue since they started 5 years ago. So, basically averaging $200 million a year from inception. And I think this year it'll be between $600 million and $1 billion in revenue that the company does in 2021, because they really were positioned in the right place. Like I said, I feel like finding it, I was in the right place at the right time, because I felt like I had missed the boat on Bitcoin. I was one of those people that was kicking myself because people had told me about Bitcoin, and I had friends that that are Bitcoin millionaires, and I didn't ever buy any. So I felt like, oh man, I totally missed the boat on this. But learning this new way to trade, you don't even have to actually own any physical cryptocurrency, and you can trade. You can trade binary options, which is a form of trading, and even Forex with crypto and digital currencies, and make far more than just buying and holding the crypto, regardless of where Bitcoin goes. It doesn't matter if it goes up or down. And so because of that, I feel like I said I was in the right place at the right time, and knowing people that were having success with this company, meeting the founders. The COO actually worked for me at World Ventures for 10 years, was our president of international. He's the COO. He's been there for a couple years. So I did a ton of due diligence when I decided to partner with this company, because
it sounds like
I was with the same company essentially my whole career. 15 years in this industry. And so for me to do something else and put my name on something, I had to make sure that this was going to be a long-term deal, and this wasn't just, I'm not one of those people that'll just promote some fly-by-night company or a fad or a gimmick. That stuff doesn't do it for me. I'm not about making a quick buck. I'm about making impact, making a difference, building a community, building a brand, and building a large organization where people are winning. I mean, that at the end of the day is really the measure of my success, in my opinion, is how many people I can help win. Because in this industry, the more people winning that are part of your organization, then the more you're going to win. Because it's a default in the process.
Just like I was saying earlier, like I've never seen anybody just do something on their own, right? There's in some shape or form, you're being educated or mentored or coached by somebody to move in the direction that you're trying to go. So the picture you just painted, right? You painted a picture of education on taking full control of your financial freedom, right? Yeah. And you're building a community of that which people crave down to their core, whether they try to deny it or not, they do. Because they feel welcomed, and then they feel comfortable asking questions about a situation that they think might be a stupid question. And they build that relationship with you or another person that's a part of the community. And so that picture, so I'm kind of getting to the topic, right? I told you we're going to go off topic and come back to it, is that our main topic is how to build a community or following around a company vision or movement that you're going. So essentially, you paint a picture for people to believe in. And then you provide a solution for a problem that they have, which would may be more in control of their finances, right? And being more wealthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we've got to have the means to be able to take care of ourselves, right? So at the end of the day, people can say whatever they want about money and wealth, but you got to have it. I mean, it's what pays the bills. And in this economy with things that have happened in 2020, you can never be too sure. And you never know, what rainy day is on the horizon, and what conflict or struggles may be in the future that you need to have finances to take care of it. Yeah, you need it.
So what using tools that you have, the everyday tools, right? A regular computer, or a phone, or so, what would be the best way? Say some guys I have this idea, and I want to try to get some people, a part of that community and move into. What would you do? Telling that person that's listening right now or watching right now.
Sure.
What would be that one tip to get just initially started?
Well, I think when you started that question, you talked about painting a picture and the vision. And so I think if you look at history, and I'm kind of a history nerd, my degree's in political science, so I read a lot, I still read a lot, for me. And so looking at the famous people of the past and learning from the past, I mean, obviously the best storyteller of all time was Jesus, and regardless of your beliefs, in that arena, he was a great storyteller.
Yeah, he really was, regardless of your beliefs.
Exactly, and he was a real person and had real followers, and it's documented in history. So regardless of whether you believe that path or not, to me, I mean, he's the greatest salesperson of all time, the greatest storyteller, the greatest visionary.
I've never ever heard anybody else say that, and it's so true because I think that.
Yeah, I mean, and so to me, you look at in history and you see people like that that were able to paint a vision and able to share their beliefs and ideas in a way that moved people to action. I mean, you can look at visionaries and leaders throughout history. They were just great salespeople. And so to me, I think, like you said, it does start with what your vision is. And so it's funny because I literally just posted, I don't even know if you saw it yet, I posted a Instagram live on my Instagram page this morning and on Facebook about congruency.
Okay.
And about how you need to feel congruent with what you're doing and what you're building in order to be able to have success. If you are not aligned with whatever your vision is, or with the company or the principles or your mentors or your team or your organization, if there is any type of conflict, in my opinion, you cannot be successful. And so, you need to be aligned in what you want your end product, your end vision, your end goal to be. And if you can envision that and then start sharing it with others, to me, that's where all big ideas start, right? It's getting people to believe you and your vision and being able to cast it. So being able to attract people to that concept and idea, because every major company, every major business, every major invention, it all started with an idea.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can't do it by yourself. So if you're, I mean, you know, it's like there was this funny TED Talk you should check out called the Lone Nut. There's
Lone Nut.
Yeah, the Lone Nut. It's about being a leader, and it was a TED Talk done years ago about just being like, you know, not being afraid to talk about what your ideas are, and getting people to follow you, and following that lone leader and creating energy and enthusiasm around it, and then you just start attracting people to it. And so I think if you're going to start a community or you're going to start a company and you want to build a movement or you want to be able to attract people, you have to be on fire for whatever that is. And to me, it starts inside with being congruent, and because then you're just natural about it. And that was one of the things about you, I think, from the very first time we connected, was you were passionate about health, and you were passionate about fitness. And to me, that's one of the reasons why you were so successful. Because like you said, you know, you didn't really see yourself as a business person in the beginning. You were trying to help people, and you were passionate about fitness. I mean, I remember us sitting down and talking about diet, nutrition, and I was just like blown away by your knowledge on those things, but you were so passionate about it. And so when you're passionate about it and that comes through to people, and as you're sharing the concept or you're sharing your ideas or you're sharing your vision, then people get passionate about it too. And that's when you start attracting the community. That's what gets the ball rolling, because I've never built any of my companies or done anything in sales or business, really even in life, by myself. I've always had mentors. I've always had teams. I've always had support staff, support crew, people that are believing in the vision. So you have to start there. You have to really create that fire around your idea and share it, and then I think that from that point, really things just start snowballing and
it really
into
does.
place.
Because I'm glad you brought it up that way, because this is the way I can explain it, and I know you can back me up on this, because it's just two different industries, same direction, same steps. So, like you said, when I was just a personal trainer with no facility, I just rented out a space to do training. You know, I was just passionate. I was a super nerd when it came to anatomy and physiology, sports nutrition. I was just a super freak about, you know, making sure that you guys were on track. And I painted that vision. I was the person that people went to for that solution for their problem that they had, the emotional solution, or the problem that they wanted to solve by being healthy or fit or look a certain way. I painted a picture that I am the guy, or the people that I'm around associated with are the people that you want to come to. And that became painting the picture to all the customers, right? The clients that wanted to come train to live that vision, right? Which is the same thing that you do. Then you had to go down the route. So these are the people that maybe have a company, or you're in a company right now and you want to make that next step or branch off at some point. This is a good lesson right here for you to learn, is that moving from your clientele when you're just one by yourself and you start to expand, you have staff or you have members or board members, you casting a vision for them, having them believe in it, having full-hearted belief and trust in your movement. That way I can move from this position as the technician, as a trainer, to the manager, which means that they can train and I can go get a mentor and I can accelerate that growth faster, right? And I cast that vision to the next person, my location manager, right? So I can go off and open another location. So before that all started, the reason you said like that, I didn't think I could be a business owner. I thought I could be a trainer. But this is what happened, is that my picture got so vivid and so clear, is that I had so many clients. And I could only help one person in 1 hour for one personal training session. Then I got to the point where I was doing half hours and they were just getting about the same amount of results. But then I had people wanting the same hours, so I did small group training, so I could impact more people as much as I can. And then I started doing
I remember. I couldn't even get in. You're like, hey, if you're coming at that time, you're going to be training with them. And then it's like, this is a positive growth problem. You know, it's like things are starting to move.
So, and then it started growing. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so my biggest thing was making impact on people. So I wanted to impact as many people as I could within that short amount of time. And then I felt, as I was bringing on trainers and coaches, I was mentoring them in my facility to make impact. But in my brain, physically, I was thinking that when they left, the education that I gave them, they're impacting more lives than my life. So that was what a passion was for me. I wanted to make a more mass impact, whether it was in my facility and I was benefiting from it and all the clients are benefiting from it, or they left the house and they used the education they gave them. Because I can tell you that there's 6 trainers in Dallas right now that are successfully very good because of the education, and they do say that I gave them a lot of education. And just like you, I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I learned everything after college. I really did.
Yeah.
I learned all my nerdiness and, you know, about the anatomy and, you know, picking at a cadaver and stuff like that. But when I left college is when I really learned. And I had somebody out in the field teaching me how to do that. But the end point of this whole story I just kind of painted for you is that moving and casting that vision and getting people to understand and not having that conflict with the person, or maybe that person should be in that movement. Maybe they don't fully believe if you tried your best to give them all the information and the solutions for the problem that they have or anything like that. Maybe they just need to go down a different path, but having that connection with and painting a picture and casting that vision so vividly that everyone jumps on wholeheartedly and builds that community.
Sure.
Which uprise anything, okay? A community in Nike are the customers, okay? Which bring a brand, right? Absolutely. And you guys are building a brand, whether you believe it or not. You have a community of people that really want to learn how to take care of their finances and educate themselves, and they're going to give you props for the education, even though that you know they're paying for that.
Well, and it's something that nobody will ever take away from them. Mm-hmm. You know, see, that knowledge that you got in college is knowledge that you'll always have. Mm-hmm. The learning that you continue to do after college is knowledge that you'll always have. Mm-hmm. And so what you do with it at the end of the day is up to you.
Yeah.
So taking the knowledge and actually using it is obviously an important part of success. We have students that have just been in the 2 months that I've been doing this that are already making thousands of dollars a week trading. And I've seen it with my own eyes and watched it happen. And these are people with no prior experience that have never traded before. They've never invested before. And they've set up their accounts. They're following our professional traders. They've gone through the curriculum. Some of them are already trading on their own. Some are just following and placing the trades that our professionals are recommending and suggesting. And watching that happen and take place it doesn't matter what happens to them in the future. This knowledge that they've created, that they've built now will be with them forever. And so that's been really powerful. And like you said, I've really been blown away at how fast our organization is growing, because we started, I joined the company and started building basically the week before Thanksgiving. So it's been it's right at 2 months. And we've already brought in over 700 customers in our group. And we're doing a leadership event this weekend in Vegas that I mentioned to you. And it was funny because we planned that within 3 or 4 weeks of starting. So this was like during Christmas with COVID. And we're like, you know what, if we get 20 rooms, you know, it'll be a successful weekend. We'll get the top 20 people that are excited about our vision and what we're doing. And we're going to get together and strategize and brainstorm and do some leadership training in Vegas. And it'll be a fun getaway, escape. Because I come from the travel industry, so I believe that a team that plays together stays together, you know, and I've seen a lot of your trips and the people, you know, that you've gone on trips with. I mean, that's how I met Sean and some of the other guys, you know. So, like, people that you go on vacations with and create memories with, those are like your lifetime friends. Yeah. And so I've always built my organizations around events and around trips and around travel.
True connections are there, man.
Yeah. And you can be yourself. Yeah. You know, like, it's just like there's no persona there. You can really be yourself and involve your spouse or significant other or family too in some cases. But what's crazy is we blocked those 20 rooms back in December because we'd only been building this business for 3 weeks. Yeah. And I called the person that we negotiated the groups with a few weeks ago. So it was like the second week of January. And I was like, oh, just make sure we filled up our 20 rooms. She's like, filled up your 20 rooms? She's like, y'all have over 70 rooms sold. I was like, what? 70 rooms? She's like, yeah, this is the biggest group we've had book a room block really since COVID, because nobody's really coming to Vegas in groups. And I was like, whoa, 70 people. So that's created a whole bunch of positive problems. We had to cancel. We had this VIP bowling lined up at the Red Rock Casino. They have these sick bowling suites. Place is sick, and we had them reserved, and they basically were like, you can't bring that many people in. There's a new mandate in Nevada that you can't have any more than 50 people in an enclosed place. And so we've had to scramble and figure out ways to divide the group up and still accomplish what we're going to accomplish this weekend in Vegas. But I was blown away because we did this during the holidays and during the pandemic, but it just shows how the business is booming right now and growing. That you solve these positive problems, right? Like business. Any business that doesn't have problems or doesn't have issues is not a big business. Like the bigger the problems, the bigger the reward, right? So these are just like the beginning problems of a growing business, but you have to be a good problem solver and be able to deal with that. Because
because I don't know how pumped these people are to go, especially after these times that people have been experiencing.
Yeah, some people haven't even been out of their town since the pandemic. You know, I mean, we took the family to Mexico for Christmas, and so I've traveled a little bit, but not nearly like what I used to. I mean, I was averaging 150,000 miles a year for like 15 years. So people are fiending to get out and be around people and be part of this live community. We've been building on Zoom and meetings online and Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and now we're going to all be together in Vegas, and they're going to be following us around and making sure we don't have more than 50 people at a time.
Sucks, but it's still fun. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So, and like I said, you started. It's all about that community and that group, and people are going to feel part of something bigger this weekend. And we're already planning our next trip to Costa Rica in April. I know that's one of your favorite spots, and so you should join us on that one. We're going to go in April, and I used to live there, so that's like one of my spots. I love Costa Rica. I love the people there. That's where I fell in love with the travel industry. It was really the first time I'd been out of the country when I was in college.
There?
Yeah, so I studied abroad on an exchange program when I was in college, and lived with a family in San Jose for 6 weeks. So I lived in San Jose. They spoke no English. When I got there, I spoke no Spanish. So I had to basically use sign language to just get food and know where I was supposed to be. But I learned a ton of Spanish, fell in love with the culture. So I started my first travel company in Costa Rica back in 2001 after that experience. And so that's really where one of the things that added to that passion for travel. So going back to my roots a little bit, I had an office in San Jose when I started that first travel company. So I love travel. I will always travel. Super passionate about it. And now we're sharing it with this new company, and we're going to have a travel product later on down the road too. And so, I have been fiending, probably worse than just about anybody out there. When you go from 150,000 miles a year to like 5,000 miles, that's a massive drop, and that's where I get my endorphins and my energy is being around other cultures and other people.
I could not relate anymore. I mean, I know you know now, but I have a wife that travels for a living, and dude, we just like complete halt. 100,000 to 5,000. That's like driving down the tip of Texas. That's not enough. It's not enough.
No. So Vegas will be good this weekend. We're excited about that, and Costa Rica coming up. So I made the decision for me and also for my family that we're gonna try to stay healthy, and we're gonna we take our vitamins every day, and we're gonna do try to make the right choices, but we're gonna still try to get out there and live our lives and create experiences, because I already, like I mentioned earlier, feel like my daughter is missing something from the full school experience, and I don't want to give those things up. Like I don't want. We're here in a free country and have the ability to do a lot of things that people take for granted, because in other countries they can't do those things or go to those places or do those see those places. And so I'm moving forward. I want to make sure that people stay healthy and safe, but in a safe way, and be able to still live their lives and not just lock down completely and miss out on all the great things that this world has to offer that I've already seen. I want my daughter to see them, and so we're taking calculated risks and, like I said, trying to stay safe. But we want to keep living our lives.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about real quick, because I'm kind of interested in myself, to be honest with you. So I want other people to listen in as I ask you a question. Someone is interested in investing, going through the education process with you guys, and what's the because a lot of people are like, well, how much
do I have to spend to invest? Like,
It's-
how little can I invest just to get started, right? 'Cause I know that's number one question.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
so, for me, I've always been a business owner, entrepreneur. We've discussed this. And so what I've known and what I've seen, and you look at the statistics, 95% of the world's wealth is made and controlled by 5% of the population. So that means that the other 95% of the world only make 5% of the wealth. Mm-hmm. So that stat and those figures have always stuck with me. And so to be in the 5%, there's really two categories that what they call the 5%, which is business owners, so people that start companies or own companies, own their own business, and then investors. And so that's the 5%, and it's 1% of that number is investor, 4% business owner. So I've always tried to stay as a business owner. But I think the biggest barrier to entry to get into that 5% is two things. It's capital and knowledge. Mm-hmm. Those are the two things that keep people, in my opinion, out of that 5%. And there's nothing wrong if you work for someone else, if you have a job, because we couldn't survive without those roles. I mean, everybody, plays their part. And so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being the 95%. It's just that when you get into the 5% as a business owner and as an investor, it's not just the money. There are so many other advantages to being in that 5%, but people don't have the knowledge or the capital. Because traditionally we were all taught, right? I mean, as we were growing up, it was you go to school, you get good grades, and then you go get a good job, right? I mean, this is the American way. It was just what was taught, it was what was expected. So nobody ever said, especially my parents, my mom specifically, because she's a big educator. So nobody ever said, go to school, get good grades, go to school, and then go be an entrepreneur. Yeah. Go be a business owner, go be an investor.
There wasn't an entrepreneur curriculum in college. I mean,
and what's sad is that unfortunately, what's sad is even still to this day, a lot of the professors that teach those classes have never actually done it. I was always blown away by the fact that professors get certifications and they teach college, university level classes in subjects that they've never actually done. So there were marketing classes by professors that had never actually run a marketing firm, that had never run a marketing agency, that had never run a business, but yet they're good on theory, right? Well, they have a certificate, and they could even be a tenured professor in business, that have never actually run the business. Mm-hmm. And so, they're seeing people that go out after their dreams. It's historically in the past 20 years that I've been teaching people to do that. It's been a fight where people think, this is not the path I was on or I was supposed to be on. I was never told or encouraged by my parents or teachers to go out and take risks or take chances and be an entrepreneur, be a business owner. Instead, I was taught to go get a good job and be secure. Mm-hmm. And so you save, and then eventually you invest for retirement, or you start to become an investor at the end of your life. Yeah. And so this has been something that we've had to teach people, kind of a different way of thinking, be an investor now. And then of course there's the business owner component of what I do. As well with it. Most people are not participating in the business owner side. They're just wanting they're wanting the knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so with Forex and crypto and these brokerage accounts, you can open an account with as little as $5. Mm-hmm. Most people are starting with $500. So there's not a large barrier to entry, but there is that knowledge that's required in order to do it, so that you're not gambling, so that you're not just, I'm buying a stock because I've heard the name. I bought Tesla or I bought Apple. That may have worked out for you for the last year, but it may not work out for you long term. So, people can get started with $500. We teach them, risk management. We teach them compounding interest and trade strategies that will build that account. There's an example of one of our traders who, over the last 3 years, he's turned $500 into over $10 million. Now, that is not typical, and that's not going to happen for most people, but I know him. I trained him in World Ventures. He was in World Ventures. He joined this company 3 years ago, and he started off as a brand new student, and now he's one of the top traders. And so now people are listening.
Sick.
So that's going well.
So did you see that right there? That was basically educational vision casting right there. So that was the reason I wanted you to ask, because I know how good you are at it. And I actually wanted to know. I was actually very interested. And fun fact is, in March, I actually started my Robinhood and
Did
made
you?
my first investments.
Did you know that in March and April alone, there were over 1 million new brokerage accounts opened in those 2 months, just at the 3 biggest online brokerages?
Wow.
Robinhood added 3 million new customers in 2020. 3 million. So they grew by 30%. They were 10 million before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they grew by 30% during the pandemic. They added 3 million new customers that are buying and selling stocks and options on Robinhood. The company's last evaluation was like 10 billion, and that's where they raised money, was at that round. It was like a Series C or something.
Yeah.
And now they're saying that they're about to go public, and they're saying that the company could be worth as much as $40 to $80 billion, and the company's only 7 years old. But they were really the first to do free trading, where you don't pay commissions on stocks and options. And so we're actually about to roll out a curriculum that is going to focus on Robinhood and Acorn and some of the platforms for you to buy and sell stocks. So it won't just be Forex, it won't just be crypto. We're going to have stocks and options too, because people are asking for it. They want the knowledge. They're searching for it. How do I trade? How do I invest? Like, these are the things that people are asking for. We're going to try to provide that for them.
Well, I'm definitely gonna hop on the train, just like I did with the other stuff that you build communities with, because I'm trying to set up my retirement for me and my spouse, my wonderful wife Stephanie, along with my real estate, and going into real estate and rental properties and Airbnbs and stuff, and that's my path. But definitely behind that computer, I definitely want to do some trading and stuff. So. Guys, if you want to follow this guy, thank you so much for jumping on today with me. We definitely don't want to blab anymore here. We know we've been taking precious time for you, but I want to thank you so much for giving you your ears and eyes. If you have any questions, just comment down below. Let us know. You know where to find him. I will always tag him and everything so you can find him easily and get some information on joining his community and learning how to be financially free. I'm excited to learn myself, and as I always say, JAMODI. It's just a matter of doing it. Take care.